My friends, today we're going to find out how the great state of Nebraska taxes retirees. Welcome again to the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel, the place where you come to find out how Nebraska is a friend to retirees or not. Well, no, we're going to find out right now to be sure. And we also find out about lots of other financial planning related topics. Every other state under the sun in the great United States will talk about their own tax rates on retirees, as well as all kinds of other things on how to reduce taxes, increase your Social Security, and take a deep breath when it comes to retirement, because it's not as bad as people are making it seem. It's not. So just hang in with me. And of course, if you like the content here at Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel, subscribe down below. And then there's a little button down there, a little bell that you click on. That bell is for you to be notified of future content, because I do about 5 videos a week or so, sometimes a little bit more. And if you want to be notified of the future content, then hit that little bell down there to subscribe after you subscribe. All right, so let's dive into it. Great state of Nebraska. Now, yikes. So Nebraska is the least tax friendly, or one of the least tax friendly in the quintile, the least tax friendly according to Kiplinger. Now we'll see, because last time I just did an episode on Montana, and Kiplinger says not tax friendly, and I disagreed with that. So let's see what Kiplinger's reasons for stating Nebraska is the least tax friendly. One of Kiplinger's top 10 least tax friendly states in the U.S., the Cornhusker state offers little in the way of tax breaks for retirees. In 2015, new rules kicked in that some spare residents from paying tax on Social Security benefits, and a new break for military retirees took effect. Seniors may qualify for a homestead exemption on property taxes. Well, thank goodness, because we want those homestead exemptions. They do have a state sales tax of 5.5%, and localities can add as much as 2%, which is an average combined rate of 6.89, according to the Tax Foundation. Income tax low of 2.46 on up to $3,000 of taxable income for single filers, and $6,100 for married couples. If you have taxable income of over $59,600 for married couples, it's 6.84. So that's not cheap. Just remember, taxable income, you got to add your standard deduction. So if you're a retiree over the age of 65, you take that $59,000, you add 20. So we take $59,666 plus $26,600. That means you have to have $86,260 of gross income before you're in that high 6.8% tax bracket. But once you're there, that's pretty high. Effective income tax rate is 4.3 for individuals and 5.6 for joint filers. Social Security income is included. Income, including federal AGI, is exempt if a taxpayer's adjusted gross income is less than $58,000 for married couples. So, see, this is what just drives me crazy. All right, so here's taxable income for your tax bracket in the state of Nebraska. But to add Social Security, it's based on your AGI. So that's before you take your standard deductions. And so if your AGI is greater than $58,000, your Social Security is included in your taxes for the state. No special breaks for non-military retirement income. All government pensions, including those from out of state, are taxable to Nebraska residents. Military retirees may take a one-time election within 2 calendar years after the date of his or her retirement from the military. Can choose to exclude 40% of his military retirement benefits income for 7 consecutive taxable years. Or you can choose 15% of military retirement benefits for all taxable years beginning with the year the retiree turns 67. Wow. IRAs are taxed as ordinary income, as are everything else. Public pensions are as well, except we just talked about for that military rat's nest there. All right, so the median property tax in Nebraska is $2,400 on a median home value of $133. So see, I'm already not liking this. 2,474 divided by 133. That's a 1.86% property tax rate. That's not good. On top of that, when you factor in, they got a pretty significant sales tax too. Now, here's a homestead exemption. People over 65 meet certain income restrictions qualify for a homestead exemption that exempts all. Oh, okay. Well, I like that. All or a portion of a property's value from taxation. Well, I don't like this. Married filers earning less than $33,000 qualify for the maximum exemption. earning. I don't know. See, what does earning mean? Does that mean you have Social Security of 40,000, or is that considered earning and you're above that? I don't know. My presumption is probably AGI on the federal tax bracket. So if you have AGI over 33,100, you don't get that exemption. So that's not good. Nebraska is not looking good. Vehicle taxes, sales taxes due. Additionally, the state charges an annual tax based on value. So this is an annual tax for a 3-year-old car that was $20,000 when new. The tax would be $240, and that's on annual. There's no estate tax in Nebraska, but they do have an inheritance tax, local tax administered by counties, and ranges from 1 to 18% of the assets passing to a spouse or charity are exempt from inheritance taxes. All right, so that's inheritance tax. So basically, your kids are not exempt from inheritance tax. So Nebraska is looking bad. No other way around that. This right here actually annoys me. So basically, you can't pass it to your children without being subject to a pretty steep inheritance tax. I'm going to do other videos on the states that have inheritance and the state taxes, because I think that gets overlooked. On top of that, you got a pretty significant property tax, a huge property tax, actually, pretty high income tax, and a state sales tax as well. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with Kiplinger's here. But let's see what the Tax Foundation says about the great state of Nebraska, because that did not look good, my friends. That looked quite bad. It actually looked worse than Massachusetts, which is saying something. Top individual tax rate, 6.84, and state and local tax burden, 9.2. which puts them ranked number 30 in the Union Tax Freedom Day, April 14th, which is ranked 14. I don't see that. That puts that in the top 20, which is good. Now, this is not good. We don't want to be in the top 20 up here. We do want to be in the top 20 down there. It's confusing, I know, but just stick with me on that. All right, so the sales tax is 5.5. Localities can add another 1.39. So the average sales tax is 6.89, which ranks them smack dab in the middle of the state sales tax burdens for the United States. They do tax cigarettes at 64 cents a pack, and then gas is 29.3. So neither of those are extraordinarily high. Here's a big one. Yeah, look at that, 1.67. That's ranked number 7 in the union. And even with lower property values, they're still collecting the top 12 of the total dollars they're getting on property taxes. So again, as I talked about many times, much rather have high income taxes and low property tax and low to no sales tax, and vice versa. And Nebraska has a high property tax, relatively high sales tax, and relatively high income tax as well. So, all right, so let's go to smartasset.com and see what they say about the great state of Nebraska in terms of taxation that we have here. And they're not tax friendly. Oops, right. Where's Nebraska? South Dakota, right in Nebraska. Yeah, right there, Nebraska. So that's where they got. They're saying, hold on just a second, my friends. Nebraska. They clicked on the wrong man. My system moves like pond water. Nebraska. Why do they keep doing that? Nebraska, right there. All right, so it clicked on Kansas when I wanted to click on Nebraska. I did not, trust me, I knew what Nebraska is in the map. It clicked on it by accident. So if you're from Nebraska, don't say, he doesn't know anything about Nebraska. I tried to click on Nebraska, but it said Nebraska, but clicked on Kansas instead. So apologies there. Any Social Security retirement income that is taxed federally is also subject to the Nebraska state income tax, while other types of retirement income are fully taxable. Nebraska's property tax are among the highest in the country, and it's just one of a handful that has of states with inheritance tax as well. So as we do, we say 25,000 Social Security income and 25,000 retirement income, IRA distributions and whatnot. And we have date of birth of 1953, which makes you 65, and you're married filing jointly. In Nebraska, they're only going to tax you at $458 on that range of income right there, which is pretty good. All right, so now let's say we have 50,000 of Social Security income and 25,000 of IRA distributions, and still, it's $75,000, so taxing at 1%, because Social Security, again, as I've said in many videos before, is taxed much, much, much more favorably than IRA distributions or 401k distributions or pension distributions. So let's flip the numbers. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Most people are going to have higher distributions from IRAs, 401ks, and whatnot than they are from Social Security, and there you go. So your taxes jump from $700 to $4,000. That's what that's that's 5, 6. Yeah, it's a 6 time. It's 6 times. It went up 6 times. That's crazy. So let's just keep going down here. Here they're saying federal, state. Look at that, $8,200 from the feds, $3,980 from the state. So if someone with $75,000 income in Nebraska is paying $12,269 in income tax. Now let's flip these around as I do, because I have 75. Scratch that. I have 75. I want to say 50,000. Excuse me. Yeah, that seemed pretty high. Okay, so bear with me just a second. Take that last 1 minute diatribe. So now if you have 50,000 IRA distributions and 25,000 of Social Security income distributions, your average is $2,300. Wow, I was going to say I was getting ready to be floored. So it's a lot cheaper than what I was anticipating. I was like, man, that seemed high. But even which, you're still paying $7,500 in taxes to the state and the feds on $75,000 of income. So you're paying 10%, of which $5,200 is the feds and $2,300 is the state. Now let's flip these around again. I wanted to show you what I was talking about there. Let's flip these guys around and show you the difference. So instead of paying $7,500, we paid $1,900, $1,200 to the feds, and $751 to the state. So again, I just cannot stress enough how much Social Security taxation is critical for you. If anything else you got to do, you got to understand how Social Security works from a tax perspective. The difference is just enormous, not just from the feds, but from the state level as well. Social Security income is partially taxed in Nebraska. Retirement accounts are fully taxed. Public and private pensions are fully taxed. Let's keep going down and just to get another idea about the extent, the Homestead Exemption. Other forms of retirement income taxable. They're all taxable. And here's look at that, man, 29,000 that's single. So married, filing jointly, 59,000 puts in 6.84% tax bracket. That's high, man. And that's taxable income. So you got to factor in, again, your exemptions there. So in that case, that'd be $86,000 like we talked before of gross income. Property taxes, look at that. State's effective property tax rate is 1.83 with hardly any homestead exemption to speak of. It's crazy. They talk about the homestead exemption here, but I mean, if you have 49,000 of household income, you don't get it. And again, that's adjusted gross. That's not even that's not even taxable income. It's adjusted gross. The home in which the exemption is claimed can have a value that's no more than the greater of 95,000. The home on which the exemption is claimed can have a value that is no more than the greater of 95,000 or 200,000 of the average home of the county level. So so if you're in a rich house that's 400,000, the county level average is 150. You don't get the exemption. It's crazy. Yeah. All right. And then of course they collect inheritance tax, and we'll get into that as well. Let's just read real quick because that did bother. Whoa. Direct relatives such as siblings, parents, children, and grandchildren are taxed at a rate of just 1%. They also receive a exemption on the first $40,000 inheritance. That's pretty good. Nephews, nieces, aunts, and blah, blah, blah receive a smaller exemption of $15,000. I wonder if that's per person. My presumption is I'm going to have to dive into this a little bit deeper for another video. And our tax at a rate of 13% of all inheritances above that. For all other inheritors, the exemption is $10,000 and the tax rate is 18%. So that's, that if it goes sideways from so we got the lineal family down from pops to mom to kids to grandkids, I think. Yep. And if it's lineal like that, it's it's only taxed 1%, which is still problematic, but still it's not as bad. And $40,000 is exempt. If it goes sideways, though, you get only exemption of $15,000. It's taxed at 13%. So that's pretty significant. We'll dive into that in another video. So Nebraska, you got some work to do. No other way around that. Got some work to do. High state, high property, high sales tax, or moderately high sales tax, and no homestead exemptions plus inheritance tax. So right now, I got to give you a big goose egg for your retirement friendliness of all the states. I've looked at California, I've looked at Illinois, I've looked at Massachusetts. So far, Nebraska is not showing very well, that's for sure. So I guess if you're in Nebraska, you'll probably give me a thumbs down here, whatever. But if you're not and you find this to be helpful, give me a thumbs up for sure, because Nebraska is not friendly for retirees, not in the least. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified of future content. And then, of course, comments, my friends. Comments are always welcome. You You can always go to the blog, heritagewealthplanning.com, to see the blog that I do. I got podcasts, got videos, got blog posts, the whole thing. And I look forward to seeing you next time on the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. Thanks, guys.